world where violence is not the norm, but the exception. Thank you.
Okay, talking about my essay, or better to say is my book compared to yours, I think that the Butler's conception of violence is really, really hard linked to the ideas of Zizek, and because they emphasizes the symbolic violence and the ideological violence. I think that they don't take violence as only as a physical harm or things like that. They go deeply into the social aspects of everyday life that can be violence. And also both, I think that they are a call of action. That is something really hard to I don't know to if is to express, but they don't only sold like these ideas. They convince you of a way of thinking and make you think to receive and to change the world. So I think that they have a lot in common, but the violence concept and the call to action, I think that they are the main ideas that I can relate about what you said about your book and what I know about mine.
Hmm. And Pablo, I also like a lot your resume of your book. I also like how Slavoj Zizek think, and I use him as an example in my essay related to my author and to my book too, since Zizek says that there are two types of violence, and like the type of violence that Zizek calls objective, and it implies in the social order. Well, in my book, it's about the queer theory and the queer people, and that type of violence can affect those people. And if you let me, now I will talk about my book and about my author. Okay, so the book I was reading throughout this semester is called Translating the Queer from Héctor Domínguez Rubalcaba, and it explores the intersection between translation of queer theories. I probably you haven't heard about queer theories since we have this class, and the author argues that translation can be a queer act too. Uh, the queer theory is based on the idea that gender and sexuality are not natural or fixed categories. It says that they are social constructions. It proposed that people can explore their identify and sexual experience without having to conform to binary categories. This story helped me to promote, oh, this story helped people to promote acceptance of sexual and gender diversity and has challenged heteronormative norms. Um, Also, at the beginning of my book, it was kind of hard to understand all the story, all this stuff. But at this point, after reading it, I understand in a better way the people that has no gender or have a different way of thinking, how they think, and I understand it in a better way. Also, the type of violence that can affect the queer people. It's almost all the times the gender violence, and that was all.
Yeah, I can also relate a lot of my book or my essay, better to say, because it's
Mm.
Judith Butler's book, but to your book, because Judith Butler is like I don't want to say the queen, but
Yes,
it's
yes, yes.
like the
I,
main,
I,
the
I,
main,
yeah,
yeah, like the
I also
main
put
author
Judith
about the
Butler
queer
in.
theory. Yeah.
uh,
So now you telling like all these heteronormativity and the all the aspects of the queer theory, I can relate really hard, and I can like complement the information that Judith Butler says in my book with yours, because Judith is talking about like to don't take into considerations what the old theories and social norms that are in the society,
Mhm.
and the queer theory, it's a really, really contemporary aspect that we have to accept and start respecting. So I
Mm.
think that it complements, and your book, it's an extraordinary example to all the things that Judith Butler said in mine.
Yeah, I used a phrase that Judith Butler said too in my essay. But yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah. In my essay, I mentioned Slavoj Žižek, that is
Hmm.
Pablo's author. Pablo, are you
Hmm.
there to talk about a little bit of Max's book?
Oh, I'm sorry,
Don't worry,
se me salió de la sesión, no sé por qué, una disculpa.
don't worry. You have
No,
you listen to Max, no? Or you didn't listen?
Yes, I listen a few, but I listen.
Okay.
Este, his summary sound interesting. I agree with some of, hmm, I agree with the summary of Max and his book sound interesting.
Yeah, for me too, it's really interesting. And I think that one aspect that we all have in common is like the start of reading the book was really, really difficult and we didn't understand anything. And for example, I have to read my book twice because the first time I didn't realize nothing. And the second time I
yeah,
read it, it's where I start a little bit of comprehension because I don't
yeah.
understand a
Me
lot of things,
too,
but it's
since
better.
since I read the name of my book, I was like, oh, what is queer theory?
Yeah,
And I started searching, I started reading, and it was difficult to understand. But in the way you are understanding better, and it resulted very interesting too. About your resume, Bruno. I,
mhm,
I I didn't tell you when you finish, but yeah, as we talk later, I feel like very close Judith Butler with my book too.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if someone have any extra comment, if not, I think that we we can finish this discussion.
And finally, it was also difficult for me to read my book. It
Yeah.
felt a little heavy since there were many pages, but the important thing is that it was possible.
Yeah, I think that's a great conclusion that we all the team can conclude. So thanks a lot and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.